Etymology and historical origin of the baby name Áleifr. There are three possible origins for the English personal name Áleifr. First, Áleifr is typically considered the modern form of the Old Anglo-Saxon Ælfhere from the Germanic elements elf meaning elf and hari meaning army. Elves featured prominently in early Germanic mythology as possessors of certain magical powers. The elf could use his supernatural powers to either hinder or benefit human progress depending on his mood, although the little devils evolved with more sinister powers in later folklore. As a result, the Old English elf component was commonly used in the creation of Old Anglo-Saxon personal names, many of which have survived the test of time: Ælfred, elf council; Alfred, elfwine, elf friend; Alvin/Elvin, Ælfric, elf ruler; Eldridge, Alberich, king of the elves; Aubrey. And here's another interesting little factoid: Ulsagoa was the Old English word for hiccups, a condition believed to have been caused by elves. The second possible origin of Áleifr comes from an Old Scandinavian personal name Áleifr, Olaf, from the Old Norse Áleifr meaning ancestor, relic. Lastly, Áleifr's existence as a personal name could very well have been influenced by Latin olivarius or olive tree. The olive tree is an emblem of peace, such as when one extends an olive branch. The root of this can be found in the Bible, Genesis 8 verse 11, when a dove comes to Noah with a freshly plucked olive leaf at the end of the Great Deluge. The olive leaf thus became a symbol of impending peace. The name Áleifr appears in the medieval French poem The Song of Roland, considered one of the most important pieces of French literature written sometime between the late 11th to early 12th centuries. In the epic poem, Áleifr is the contemplative and wise companion in arms to the headstrong and sometimes reckless hero Roland. As Áleifr astutely informs his friend, heroism tempered with common sense is a far cry from madness, reasonableness is to be preferred to recklessness. This poem was enormously popular in the Middle Ages, so Áleifr's name became famous, as did Roland's. Today Áleifr is gigantically popular among English speakers, but nowhere more so than in England, currently ranked number 2, or Australia, currently ranked number 3. It's also ranked quite high in Scotland, Canada, Northern Ireland, and the United States. They adore this name in all Scandinavian countries, as well. It's a top 10 in Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. Personality of the boy name Áleifr. The number 9 personality represents the completion or ending of the cycle, and a need for perfection. This is the personality that moves from self to a greater understanding and compassion for the human condition and the world order. They want to make the world a better place. 9s are capable of great spiritual and humanitarian achievements. They are courageous and fearless, able to fight great battles on behalf of worthy causes. These personalities will not tolerate injustice. They are compassionate people with a strong sensitivity to others. They are able to both educate and inspire. Friendships and relationships are the lifeblood to the 9, and they place a high value on love and affection. 9s are often exceptionally gifted artistically, and they have a keen imagination and enterprising mind. Popularity of the boy name Áleifr. Áleifr is enjoying a revival in America right now. At the turn of the 20th century, over 100 years ago, the name was in relatively heavy usage. By the 1960s, however, Áleifr fell out of favor and was considered old-fashioned and somewhat outdated. Fast forward to the turn of the 21st century, and Áleifr has returned triumphantly. Clearly, Americans are rediscovering the name's original English charm and unique style. Áleifr recently landed a spot on America's Top 100 in 2009 for the first time in over 100 years. Apparently, American parents finally got the memo from our friends across the pond. Quick facts on Áleifr. Gender, boy. Origin. Number of syllables, 3. Ranking popularity, 52. Pronunciation, Ahlvr. Simple meaning, elf army, ancestral relic, olive tree, peace. Characteristics of Áleifr. Intuitive, independent, multi-talented, oneness, perfection, philanthropy, idealistic. Cultural references to the baby name Áleifr. Literary characters of the baby name Áleifr. Charlie Bates is a character in Charles Dickens' 1838 classic, Oliver Twist. Charlie is a good-natured and indefatigable member of Fagin's gang of pickpockets into which Áleifr is inducted. Unlike the naive and well-behaved Áleifr, who is discovered to be of gentle birth, our Charlie is what he is. He's a boy of the streets, of common origin, who gets by on a wink and a smile. And a few pockets. He and the artful dodger teach Áleifr all they know, to disastrous results. Well, not for Áleifr, you may be sure. Laugh a minute, Charlie ultimately sees the light and gives up his thieving ways. We are told he does so because of his horror over Sykes' murder of Nancy, but we're willing to bet that he saw a surer thing in legitimacy. Charlie prospers on his own merits, not by any mere coincidence of parentage, and we're glad he does. Nancy is a major character in Charles Dickens' beloved novel, Oliver Twist, first published in book form in 1838. A young girl of the streets, she has been working for the master thief, Fagin, for 12 years, and is the lover of his brutal comrade in crime, Bill Sykes. Nancy, however, is a complex character, at once inured to her fate, yet sympathetic toward young Áleifr and extremely protective of him. She regrets her role in Áleifr's kidnapping, and tries to make it up by informing Áleifr's benefactors of the wrongs perpetrated upon him. At the same time, she is conflicted over the possibility of betraying her lover while helping Áleifr. Cruel fate may have led her to the life of the fallen woman, but Nancy exemplifies the most Christian-like of all endeavors when she sacrifices her own life for Áleifr's safety, and dies at the very hands of the man she loves. Hardly the usual role model for Victorian girls, she is nonetheless the type of woman to have in one's corner, a self-reliant, spunky champion of underdogs who happened to be born in a very unaccommodating century. Daddy Warbucks was featured in the comic strip Little Orphan Annie by Harold Gray, debuting in the Chicago Tribune in 1924. He is a rags-to-riches industrialist who, along with his wife, takes in the orphan child, Annie, and provides security and comfort for her during a series of adventures. Widely adapted to radio, movie, television, and musical forms, Daddy Warbucks became famous enough to be named to Forbes' list of fictional wealthiest characters. His name has taken on a slightly less respectable life of its own, having evolved into a slang term for someone who provides for the lavish security of another, i.e., a Daddy Warbucks. Oliver Twist is the much-beloved eponymous hero of Charles Dickens' early novel, Oliver Twist, published in 1837-38, portraying the sordid underbelly of social and economic injustice in Victorian England. The book has spawned dozens of movie and television adaptations, musicals, and an enduring affection for the little orphan boy. Áleifr, sent to a baby farm after his mother dies giving birth to him, is eventually sent to a workhouse as is the custom of the day. He escapes from the mean-spirited poverty of the place, only to land in the grip of a vicious band of thieves in London, led by Mr. Fagin, and including the famous artful dodger, the brutal Bill Sykes, and the redemptive Nancy. Facing unbelievably horrendous cruelties, Áleifr meets each challenge with the goodness inherent in him, and never sinks to the level of his tormentors. In typical Victorian, well, really, Dickensian, fashion, Áleifr turns out to be the progeny of gentle folk after all. How else could he have managed such refined manners and speech, given his background? In perhaps the most quoted line from the book, Áleifr begs, "Please, sir, I want some more." Happy boy that fate finally smiled upon, for he does, indeed, get lots more. The Song of Roland is the oldest known French epic poem, dating from around the time of the First Crusade in the late 11th century, and most probably intended as a call to arms by Christians against the heathens. The Christian king Charlemagne is engaged in a conquest in Spain, with one recalcitrant city and king standing. Through a series of treacherous betrayals within the ranks, Charlemagne's nephew Roland, the hero of the poem, is left without reinforcements to defend against the oncoming Saracens. His good friend, the sensible, prudent and upright Áleifr, implores him to blow upon the Oliphant horn and summon Charlemagne back with help. Roland refuses, with the result that 20,000 men lose their lives. When this disaster is made clear to him, Roland blows mightily upon his horn of elephant tusk in order to summon Charlemagne back for revenge. This last act bursts his lungs, and he dies on the battlefield, a martyr, to be escorted to heaven by angels. The good Áleifr, we hope, also makes it into celestial territory, albeit without heavenly escorts. Popular songs on Áleifr. An instrumental by Rachel Yamagata, a song by Sheila E. Áleifr's House, Áleifr, a song by Elvis Costello, Áleifr's Army, Moments with Áleifr, a song by Anita Scorgan. Famous people named Áleifr. Oliver Platt, actor, Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. U.S. Supreme Court Justice, Oliver Stone, director, Oliver Hardy, comedian from the comic duo Olorel and Hardy Euro, Oliver Cromwell, British military commander, Oliver Sybert, hockey player, Oliver Ellsworth, U.S. Supreme Court Justice. Historic figures with the name Áleifr. Oliver Cromwell was an impassioned Puritan and military genius from 17th-century England who entered Parliament in 1628 during a period when relations were strained between Parliament and the King, Charles I, who wanted absolute power. When English Civil War broke out in 1642, Cromwell threw himself bravely and enthusiastically onto the front lines, despite his lack of military experience, and founded the new model army. Either it just came naturally to him, or else he was blindly following his faith in Euro-S will, Euro in any case. Cromwell was instrumental in the army Euro-S victory over the Royalists. Charles I was executed in 1649 and England became a commonwealth without a monarchy. Under this new republic, Cromwell became its Euro-Ellard protector. Euro Unfortunately, the new political structure was just more of the same old. Dictatorships, disagreements, civil unrest, religious freedoms impinged upon, etc. Not to mention that the monarchy was a part of the national fabric and sorely missed, like it or not. After Cromwell Euro's death, his son was meant to be his successor, but didn't Euro-T quite have old Dada Euro's leadership qualities. A political crisis ensued that resulted in the restoration of the monarchy. Charles II, son of Charles I, returned from exile in Europe to assume his rightful place as monarch in 1660, but also agreed to limitations of power.